There are some moments many cat owners have seen, but rarely question. Your cat is playing. At least situation looks like that. The toy moves. The body follows. There is energy, paw, speed, precision. And then suddenly, something changes. The movement becomes sharper. The eyes lock in a little too intensely. The bite just a little too real. And for a second, it no longer seems like play. Feels like something else. In this video, we will explore what is actually happening in those moments. Not just the visible behavior, but the internal system behind it. Because when a cat plays, it is not basically reacting to a toy. It is engaging with instinct, memory, environment, and emotion, all at once. And most of the time, humans only see the first layer and surface. The section humans misunderstand. Humans naturally divide experiences into meaningful subsections because it makes the world easier to analyze. Play is seen as harmless and light. Hunting is seen as serious and purposeful. Aggression is labeled as a problem that needs to be corrected. Emotion is something we often identify and process after it has already been expressed. But a cat does not experience the world through these limitations. For a cat, play is not something separate from survival. It is an extension of it, a continuation of deeply rooted patterns that have not disappeared simply because the environment has changed. The same movements a cat uses while playing, the same timing, the same stillness before action, are all part of a system originally designed for hunting. There is no clear line where one ends and the other begins. This is why the intensity can feel surprising to us. Because from a human perspective, it looks like the cat suddenly switched from play into something more serious. But from the cat's perspective, nothing actually changed. The depth was always there, quietly present, and it simply became more visible in that moment. Why the intensity feels personal. There is another layer to this that becomes even more noticeable when humans are directly involved in play. When a cat interacts with a toy, the feedback is simple. The object moves, reacts, and stops. But when a cat interacts with a human, the situation becomes far more complex. Your movements are less predictable. Your reactions carry energy. The way you pull your hand back, the way you respond to contact, even small changes in timing, all create a different kind of interaction. To a cat, this is not just play. It becomes a dynamic system of responses. If your hand moves quickly or reacts suddenly, the cat system reads that as continued engagement. Not emotional engagement in the human sense, but a signal that the pattern is still active, that the interaction has not yet reached a clear endpoint. Something alive is still responding, and so the cat continues to follow that pattern. This is often where escalation begins. The moment it changes, there is usually a very specific point where play begins to shift into something deeper, even if it happens so subtly that it is easy to miss. The body lowers just slightly closer to the ground, becoming more controlled rather than energetic. The pauses between movements become longer, more deliberate. The eyes remain fixed, blinking less often, holding focus in a way that feels almost intense. Even the tail, which might have been moving freely before, begins to slow or move with more precision. These are not random changes. They mark the moment where play and instinct begin to overlap more fully, where the behavior aligns more closely with the patterns that exist beneath the surface. It does not mean the cat has become aggressive, and it does not mean something is wrong. It simply means the system has moved into a deeper state of engagement. In a natural environment, this sequence would eventually reach a clear conclusion. But inside a home, that resolution is often missing. And when there is no clear end, the energy does not fully settle. It lingers, searching for a place to go, and sometimes that is when it redirects in ways that feel confusing or unexpected. A question that doesn't have a simple answer. At this point, there is a question that is worth asking, even if it does not lead to a simple or comfortable answer. When your cat attacks during play, is it actually losing control? Or is it following a pattern that was never fully completed? Many people describe these moments as sudden aggression, as if the cat changed without warning. Others feel as though their cat has unpredictable mood shifts, something that cannot be easily explained. But when you look more closely, the signals were often there all along, just quiet enough to go unnoticed. This is where perspectives begin to differ. Some cat owners believe that play should always remain gentle and controlled, clearly separated from anything that feels too intense. Others notice that their cats seem most engaged, most focused, when play reaches that deeper level, even if it becomes harder to manage. If you have experienced this with your own cat, it raises a question that does not have a clear right or wrong answer. Is the goal to reduce that intensity, or to understand what that intensity is trying to complete? The role of the environment. A cat's play is never isolated from its surroundings. It reflects the environment in ways that are not always obvious at first. In a space where stimulation is limited, where movement is predictable and variation is minimal, play begins to carry more weight. It becomes the primary outlet for energy, curiosity, and instinct. As a result, it often feels more intense, more focused, and sometimes more difficult to interrupt. In a more varied environment, where the cat has access to different forms of engagement throughout the day, the nature of play begins to shift. The energy is spread across multiple experiences rather than concentrated into a single moment. The behavior may still be active and engaged, but it feels less pressured, less like everything depends on that one interaction. This is why two cats can behave so differently, even if they share similar personalities. Because the behavior is not only about the cat itself, but about the system the cat exists within, the environment that shapes how that energy is expressed. Why some cats pull back. While some cats move toward play with intensity, others remain at a distance, watching carefully before deciding how to engage. They approach slowly, pause often, and sometimes step back entirely, even when the opportunity to play is clearly there. This is often interpreted as a lack of interest, as if the cat simply does not enjoy play in the same way. But in many cases, it is not disinterest at all. It is a form of observation, a way of managing uncertainty. For these cats, play is not something they enter immediately. It is something they study first, something they need to understand before fully committing. And in environments where multiple factors are present, such as another cat interrupting or changing the dynamic, that uncertainty becomes even more significant. In those moments, play is no longer just about movement. It becomes layered, social, and less predictable. And for some cats, unpredictability is enough to slow everything down. What play reveals over time. If you observe your cat's play over a longer period of time, patterns begin to emerge in ways that are subtle but consistent. It is not just about which toy they choose, but how they engage with it. Whether they rush forward immediately or wait and watch. Whether they escalate quickly or build intensity slowly. Whether they remain focused or lose interest partway through. These patterns are not random. They reflect how the cat processes the world itself, how it approaches uncertainty, how it manages energy, and how it responds to its environment. Over time, play becomes less about the activity itself and more about what it reveals. It becomes a form of communication, not in words, but in repeated behaviors that carry meaning through consistency. The quiet shift in perspective. Once you begin to see play in this way, something changes in how you experience it. The sudden moments no longer feel as confusing. The intensity no longer feels as personal. The distance no longer feels like rejection, because the focus moves away from reacting to the behavior and toward understanding the system behind it. And in that shift, the relationship itself becomes quieter, more observant, less driven by immediate interpretation and more by long-term awareness. There is nothing simple about the way a cat plays. It may appear small, ordinary, even insignificant at times. Something that happens in the background of daily life, easy to overlook or dismiss. But beneath it, there is a structure that has existed far longer than the environment it now exists in. And your cat still carries that structure, even now, in ways that reveal themselves only if you are willing to look a little more closely. If you have noticed moments where your cat's play felt different, more intense, more distant, or harder to understand, share it in the comments. Those small observations often connect in ways that reveal something much larger. And if you want to continue exploring the deeper patterns behind cat behavior, you can subscribe and stay with the next episode. Because sometimes the behaviors that seem the smallest are the ones that carry the most meaning.